Welcome everybody to our info session for director proposals for the 2024-2025 main stage season at KWLT. The purpose of this presentation is just to give you some clarity around our expectations for when you are proposing a play for this season as a director, everything that involves, and what you might expect after the fact if you do get accepted, to ensure that this is something you want to take on before you actually go through the proposal process. To kick things off, I wanted to introduce the selection committee for this year. So the directors are selected by the Artistic Steering Committee. And right now that consists of myself, Morgan Anderson. I'm also the vice president at KWLT and the chair of this committee. And we also have Nadia and Gaia and Adrienne, who is our president, as well as Karen. So that's who is going to be reading over the scripts and making the decision, ultimately. So just a brief overview of the shows we are looking for this season. First of all will be a winter show. We're really hoping for something like a cozy mystery or something for that slot, and that's in the proposal form as well. The performances are late November to early December. The second show of the year, we're hoping for a large-scale musical, but this session is actually not going to cover that because we're hoping that will be in another space. That proposal form is not out yet. It's going to come out later this year or early next year, so keep an eye out for another info session when that proposal form is live. And the third show of the season, it will be in spring, in May. We're hoping for something maybe experimental or contemporary or modern for that slot. And then the fourth show of the year will be towards the summer in late June, and we're hoping for maybe something comedic and light to bring us into the summer. So those are the shows that we're looking to see in your proposals. So there is a proposal form. If you haven't seen it yet, it's on our website, and it's going to ask you a number of questions. First of all, your own contact info, your past theater experience, so that we can know a little bit about you and who is proposing this play. Your vision, so about the play, your vision for the play, and then why it's the right fit for KWLT specifically. Something about your team, so do you already have people lined up, and who are those people and what are their roles? The dates that you would prefer, so which of those 3 shows would be right for this play? And then finally, it's going to tell you a bit about the budget and make sure that the play fits within that budget and the performance rights make sense for our theater as well. I'm going to pass this off to our president now to tell you a bit about KWLT's mission.
When we're evaluating scripts and proposals, one of the things that we're looking for is plays that, for instance, are going to provide a positive experience for our members, because we are volunteer driven. We are here very much to allow people to get a new experience, try something they haven't done before, or work with a director they haven't worked with before. So that piece around providing a good experience for and a compelling experience for our for the cast and the crew is really key. So that's one of the things that we're looking for, something that aligns with this mission of creating plays that are fun and educational experiences for our members, our community, and give an opportunity for people to try something new.
So why might your show be right for KWLT? What sort of shows have we produced in the past? I will say that most of our volunteers are adults, so we don't usually run a children's show, and we mostly have adult audiences as well. We are sort of known for producing edgy shows. For instance, our next show going up in the new year is called Kafka's Dick. I don't know if YouTube is going to... I'll bleep that out for the YouTube video. But So maybe other community theaters have rejected the script because it's too edgy for them, but that's a script that we're willing to look at and might produce. We're not afraid of those, swear words in the titles. We're also willing to produce new works by local playwrights. So if you are a playwright and you want to direct your play, and this is the first time it's going up, that's also fine. In fact, our first show of the season, which is going up very soon, is by a local playwright, and his partner is directing the show, and the writer's very much involved as well. So we want to provide opportunities for people who are even new to the playwriting space. And we're also interested in expanding our membership. So if you've never been involved in KWLT before, you are welcome definitely to apply. However, we're pretty trusting of people we have worked with before and have had a good experience with, because the director role is such a big commitment, and it definitely benefits from understanding the way that KWLT operates. However, we definitely know that new people can be very driven, committed individuals ready to learn our systems, so we're very happy to bring those people on board as well. I'm going to pass it back off to Adrienne to tell you a bit about our space where your show will go up.
Thanks, Morgan. If you look at the actual slides, which are available in the Google invite and are available on our Google Drive, the links are to things like the pictures and some schematics of the theater. Kitchener-Waterloo Little Theater is little. It's not just part of the Little Theater movement. The space is quite small, so it's a 60-seat black box theater, and that gives us both challenges and opportunity. The challenges are that we can't really mount, for example, a 67-person sword fight in that space, but we've run some really interesting, innovative theater in the round, theater in the donut. Someone made a space bar in it for Saucy Jack and the Space Vixens a few years ago, and it was a cabaret style seating arrangement. But it is small, but it has a lot of flexibility. So the box itself is about 30 foot by 30 foot, and when it's in its normal configuration, the stage is about 30 feet wide by practically like 15 feet technically, but once you get the first row of seating in there, for a 60-seat audience, it's actually about 13 feet deep.
The first show of the season is in the round, so they are doing a non-normal audience configuration. So if you want to see what that looks like, you can go watch that show. Highly recommend.
Tickets are available.
Yeah. So moving on to your vision. So what is the creative vision part? Because we give the directors so much artistic autonomy, and so we want to see what you can do with that. The vision for your show, it's something we're asking for in the proposal. So this is different than just what the show's about, because we're going to find out what the show is about by reading the script. We want to know why you want to produce this play particularly. So the vision might be simple. It might just be, it's a fun comedy. I want to lift people's hearts after the pandemic, right? That could be your vision for the show. Or it might be something more, in-depth and academic. Maybe you're going for that experimental slot and you're trying to do a Shakespeare play, like an adaptation of Shakespeare that focuses on political struggle or something like this, that is relevant to current day, and that's your vision for this show. That's fine too. Essentially, the vision is your artistic interpretation of the play text, because as a director, that is what you bring to this show. Somebody else maybe has written it, but you get to bring your vision, your interpretation of their text to the show. You get to make it, if you want, different from what people in the past have done with this text. So a strong vision statement might include why you are the right person to direct this play, why now is the best time to produce this play, what audiences will get out of watching your production of this play, and any other stylistic or artistic elements that you're adding to this production that we might not get when we read the script alone. So we are going to read the scripts. There is a section to tell us about the script, and you might want to give us a bit of info about the script in the vision section, in order to explain what you're doing with that script. So this might also include what elements are important to bringing your vision to life. For instance, if it's a very costume-heavy show because it's a historical piece and you really want historically accurate costuming, and the costumes are going to be the focal point of your vision, you might want to mention that here. And there's also going to be a space later to tell us about who's working on your team, and we want to see that you have the right people on your team for the vision you've expressed. So we're going to look for like a team vision match. If costumes are heavy and you don't have an idea of who might be a good person to make historically accurate costumes, we're going to have trouble supplying you with that historical costume expert, possibly. So we want to see you've put some thought into how to achieve your vision, which is why it's important we hear what your vision is right at the beginning of this proposal. I'm going to pass it over to Adrienne again to talk a bit about our casting policies and what we're looking for in the casting section.
This will come up a little bit later because we're also going to provide a link to the policy document and emphasize how important the adherence to our policy document is. Casting and open casting is so important at KWLT that we have, it's one of our older policies, is our open casting policy. Specifically, we do not allow pre-casting, which is to say, while you're free to say to someone you know that, you would love to see them come out to auditions, they have to come out to auditions. They cannot be given a role, like, or promised a role or winked at a role. They have to come out, do their audition, and actually do a credible audition, not just one that's phoned in. Everyone who auditions has to have equal opportunity, and as a community theater that really emphasizes, we really want our members and our volunteers to have a good experience. That's really critical to us. The other part of casting, of course, is sometimes scripts specify things that maybe don't align with your vision, right? Maybe it's a version of Homer's epic that Homer's Odyssey that you would like to cast as all women. Maybe you want to play with gender. Maybe you want to play with age. If you want to do something interesting or outside of what the actual script says, we just need to know that. And we also need to know if you, for example, want to do that, but you might want to do that, but you can't because you're working with a script where the playwright famously does not allow cross casting, or famously does not, is very, very emphatic that everything must be done according to the script.
Yeah, so it's important to have your own vision for the play, but that vision can't conflict from our legal obligation to the playwright whose rights we are purchasing. And Adrienne, if you could speak to this as well.
Yes, absolutely. So in order to assess the script, we do need to read a copy of it. So the strong preference is for a digital copy emailed to ad@KWLT. However, if you can take ownership of getting us a copy of the script, physical copy of the script in some way, and again, more copies are better, because as you will have seen on the first slide, there are uh, five of us on the perusal committee, and so if there's only one copy of the script, we have to actually get it around to each other, and that's actually kind of can be kind of challenging. So if you have to provide us with a physical copy of the script, please email ad@kwlt.org and let Morgan know how you're going to do that.
On to your production team, which I mentioned a bit earlier. There's a few members of your production team that we would love to see in your proposal itself, because they are so critical to the mounting of your production. So the person proposing, of course, is likely the director, but some people that you might want around at the time of proposing include a stage manager, who is going to be responsible for the organization of your show, for instance, maybe scheduling rehearsals, taking notes during rehearsals, and that documentation aspect as well. But so they're kind of in charge of things during the run as well. And then your technical director, who's going to be responsible more for the technical aspects of the show, and they're going to run Tech Week. So they make sure every technical aspect of the show is running smoothly. A producer. At KWLT, the producer is responsible for all of the marketing and publicity, and this actually can be quite extensive because we have multiple social media platforms at KWLT. So this includes coming up with a marketing schedule and plan. So week to week, day to day, what are you posting to Instagram, Facebook, the website, our newsletter, any e-blasts, or what's that thing called when you tell the public about your show in the newspaper?
Press release.
That's the one. Press releases, poster runs, coming up with the graphics, the text, everything. It's actually quite a large job, and that's what the producer does at KWLT. So you can sort of see, like, managing all of the people and the tech and the marketing. That's a lot of work, and as a director, we want to make sure that you are focused on the artistic vision of this show, which includes all of those things, but you probably want people dedicated to those aspects, and it's helpful for us to know at the proposal stage that you have an idea of who that person's going to be, so that we know that you're going to be able to put on this show, and we don't have any concerns for that. A lot of these things also start quite early. So your stage manager needs to be in place before auditions because they're going to help you run auditions. Your producer needs to be in place before auditions because they're going to market the auditions. And the technical director probably should be too, because you're going to want probably a vision for your show and how that's going to go up prior to auditions. So it's important to have these people early. And then, of course, anybody that's unique to your proposal. So like earlier I mentioned, if you've got a really heavy costumed show, then we would love to see that you have a costume designer already in place. If you've got a really elaborate set that you're envisioning, we would love to know you have a set designer in place. Same goes for lighting designer, sound designer, prop handler. If it's a really huge props show, whoever that person is, who do you need to carry out your vision, and who is that person? So that's the production team. We also have some expectations around communication with directors when it gets closer to your show date. So there's a little bit of communication after the proposal if you're accepted. We're going to just negotiate the rights and things like that. But then leading up to your auditions and then your show, we need to communicate quite a few things with you as we tell you about our policies and procedures. We get things from you, you get things from us, and there's a few ways that we do this. So the first is Google Drive. Google Drive is where you're able to store all of the resources for your show, including, for instance, all of those social media plans and assets. The communications team at KWLT will be able to access that folder and have everything that they need. So you'll need some knowledge around how to use a Google Drive system. And we have a whole shared drive system at KWLT that's quite comprehensive already. We're going to set you up with a drive, the budget's going to be in there, etc. You'll also get a kwlt.org email address, and that is going to give you access to our entire drive space, as well as an email that people can reach out to you at, so that it has some professionalism around it. When you are speaking to people who might want to audition or whatever, they can contact you at your show email rather than your personal email. That also gives you access to things like the Google Meet, where we're meeting today, things like that. And when you have this email, we will be emailing you at it, and we need like a fairly quick response time, especially leading up to the performance dates. So we'll actually need you to be monitoring that email for internal communications as well as external communications. And then we also have a Slack. So everything at KWLT also exists on Slack. All of our committees have Slack channels. Every show gets a Slack channel. There's a random Slack channel just for fun. Highly recommend you join the KWLT Slack regardless of whether you become a director, because it's a great place to be. But we need at least a few of your crew members, especially those production team people that was on the previous slide, to be on that Slack space, because that's where we do more instant messaging. And we expect a faster response time there, because this is more immediate needs. And we're often on there daily. Back to you, Adrienne.
Thank you. So before I go into what's on the slide here, I want to just set the stage for anyone who is new to KWLT. The Kitchener-Waterloo Theatre, sort of the organization itself, runs on, and Morgan alluded to this, runs on a committee basis. So we have multiple committees. So we have the Show Support Committee, which is responsible for the things that the executive producer, artistic director, after shows are chosen, box office, basically working directly with shows after they've been chosen. We have a communications committee. That communications committee looks after the actual publishing of content that other committees or that shows have produced. We have some other committees that you will probably see less, like the building committee, the fundraising committee. The ones I think that are really key would be show support, communications, and jump in here, Morgan and Caro, if I'm missing. So you'll notice that I said things like communications committee will actually publish things that the show produces. So going back to that that producer role, it is the responsibility of the show to produce marketing and promotional content. So going into the slide itself, first and foremost, we expect our directors to read and abide by the policy manual and the production handbook, which has timelines for things you'll be expected to do. Policy manual, as I alluded to on the open casting policy, and we have policies for minor involvement, we have policies for alcohol, we have policies for reimbursement, we have policies for like what can be sold to a cast member after the run of the show, etc. There's a wide variety of them. And if you look on the left side of that slide, up sort of on top of the curtains, in these slides, there is a link to that policy guide. There's also the production handbook, which defines roles for each role, the director, the producer, what we expect from those people, and there's a schedule of things we expect to see during the course of a production, and those are really critical. So when we look at these things, just on a meta level, there are a couple ways to think about the way that KWLT runs shows. In many ways, we act as a production company. We fund the production, we provide the space and rehearsal space, and we do have dedicated rehearsal space. And we have a promotional and box office structure, i.e. the people who publish things and the people who sell tickets. But we expect our productions, the director and their crew, to put in the work of creating the play in its world. The other way to think about it is, as Morgan mentioned, we give our directors a tremendous amount of artistic freedom. But in return, we expect that they bear their responsible for making the play happen. We can help, but, and this is really key, at the end of the day, there are 0 paid employees at Kitchener-Waterloo Theatre. Every single person is a volunteer. There's no one who's being paid to build sets. There's no one being paid to create posters, hang lights, sell tickets, or play guitar live during the show. And I'm going to sort of kick into sort of some of the things on this slide by saying everyone here is on their leisure time. And so what that means is that everyone should participate to make it a positive experience for everyone else. That's how we want to see shows run. Part of the role of the director is to create that environment of mutual looking after each other. So how does that sort of come down into these expectations that I have on the slide? So for the cast, there's that responsibility to provide a positive experience for the cast, but also the cast should be participating in the promotion. They should be coming out to the poster run. They should be coming out to tech run to help build sets, to help paint your set. So you should be setting the expectation that they participate not just on stage, but also in all the work of making this production come to life. So your crew, as Morgan mentioned, you will definitely need to help or strongly lead developing that crew, finding people who can help. We can help you find people to train people. If you have someone who's interested in building sets but never has, we can find some mentors. But it would be better for you to bring someone in rather than us trying to find someone on the back end to bring your artistic vision to life. We expect you to meet regularly with your crew, because a lot of the stuff that the crew does usually comes towards the end, right? Once you get the theater, you're putting up the set, you're bringing in all your costumes. Costume people typically work at home in isolation. Props people, they're running out to stores, or they're making things in their workshop. They don't have a chance to meet 3 times a week the way that a cast would. And so there needs to be actual work put into integrating them into that production so that they feel like they're a part of it and they're having a good experience. The production is also responsible for organizing and running Tech Week, which means that, like I said, we provide the space, but we're not going to come in and say, oh, what do you want for a set? We'll build it for you. The production does that. The cast and the crew together build that world of the play. So marketing and promotion, we need you to tell us why people should come to your play. What is it about your play that people should come and see? So you have to be there to either tell your producer, hey, I want these kinds of images. I want these kinds of words in the press release, and here's a tagline. And you or your producer needs to work with someone to create posters, organize the social media content that Morgan was talking about. And then the final thing on here, sometimes people, when things start to go wrong, people try to fix it without anyone finding out. And we can't help you if we don't know. So our very strong expectation is that if something has gone wrong, you'll let us know as soon as you possibly can. Because it's theater. Something always goes wrong.
So, and just something to add to that, we expect you to bring people to the show, but that doesn't mean that we don't already have a rich community of theater artists at KWLT that might want to participate in a show. If you're looking for people, a great place to do that might be on the KWLT Slack. We have a general channel for like company business, a random channel for whatever you want it for, and you might want to just post in the Slack and ask around for the roles that you're looking for and see if there's anyone that's excited about the show that you're proposing. So you can access the Slack through our website. There should be a link there. If there's not, you can email us and get on there. Were you going to add something, Adrienne?
Yeah, I was going to add, we anticipate having some kind of sort of mingle once the shows are chosen, to let crews, let people come out and find out about the shows as well.
Yeah, exactly.
You might want to get involved in.
So that at that mingle, you might find actors or, a lighting operator or an ASM or whoever you need to make your show happen. And correct me if I'm wrong again, Adrienne, but just because we're all volunteers doesn't mean that you can't use some of your budget or do fundraising as a show in order to come up with funds to say, pay a live musician to perform alongside your live show. That could be very cool, and maybe that's a paid performer in your show. That's fine, yeah. So
yeah, as long as it's part of the budget. I've used part of the budget before to pay a composer to do, or pay session musicians to do something a composer did for me.
That was the last slide. So we just tossed a lot onto you, and I'm wondering if anybody has any questions or if anybody thinks of something that we didn't cover that people might want to know when watching this video later.
I think something, so hi, this is Carolyn. I'm a member of the show support committee, as well as I've directed shows with KWT before as well. And in this presentation, we emphasized a lot of the various responsibilities that you need to be aware of when you come in to direct a show. I do also just want to emphasize that directing is an extremely rewarding experience, and you can learn a lot, and you get to have a lot of fun. And at K Realty, our committees and our board are here to support you in that journey. So, we talked about, the various things we're expecting and all of the documentation and stuff. And we're here to walk you through that, and we're here to help you with the process. So it sounds like a lot, but it's very rewarding, and the theater is here to help you every step of the way.
I think it's just fun that you get so much artistic autonomy as a director. You really have this black box to do what you want to do with it within legal limits.
And the policy guide.
Yeah, and our policies.
Does anyone else have any other questions?
How many proposals do you usually get in a year?
The last couple of years have been, I think last year, if I recall, we got 7 or 8 viable proposals. Hey, Dee.
I just had a question relating to that, actually. If a proposal that you make is not successful in one particular year, is it possible to sort of resubmit it for a future year? And if you want to do that, is it possible to get feedback from the Artistic Steering Committee on how to improve the proposal? Absolutely. I know that would be a lot of work if there's lots of proposals, but just curious if that could work.
Absolutely. That's
awesome.
Absolutely possible.
I had a question about the timelines. Can you remind us what the due date is for the proposals, and then when we would expect to hear back about success of the proposals or not success?
Maybe I can take that one, Morgan. So if I recall correctly, the date of the proposal is December 10th?
5th.
5th, thank you. So basically the committee will take the rest of the month to read the proposals, read the scripts, if necessary, pass scripts back and forth, create spreadsheets where we assess what we have, and then at the January meeting, I would expect January meeting of the Artistic Steering Committee, which I think is in the first week, maybe the second. I would expect coming out of that meeting, there would be a proposed season. Now, the Artistic Steering Committee at KWLT does not have the final say. The Artistic Steering Committee chooses a slate that it thinks works together, fits the theme of the season that we can do, and then it presents that to the board of directors. So the board of directors meeting will be at the end of January, and so in between there, successful directors would expect to hear towards the middle or end of January that they have made it onto the next stage, which is being presented to the board, and then the board would ratify or send back the season to the artistic steering committee. And then once the board has actually ratified a season, then we would reach out to the successful candidates. Now, does that mean that if you don't hear from us in January, that you're automatically out? No, because it's possible that the board would override that decision and say, actually, we like this proposal more and we think it fits better. But unsuccessful applicants would probably expect to hear in February that they were unsuccessful, although we have had situations where we weren't able to get rights and had to go back to someone to say, hey, we said no, but now we're saying yes, are you still interested?
There we go. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. How's everybody doing today? You guys are all fantastic. Beautiful smiles. I love it. Originally, with the proposal that I sent in, I didn't have the people in place, such as producers, the people that you're looking for, technical directors and stuff like that. But I am in conversations with people that I'm bringing on board for that. Is there a line of communication? I just don't want it to not be not accepted because those people aren't in place yet. Is there a line of communication where I can keep people updated and letting them know that, this person's coming on board for this role, this person's coming on board for that role, type of thing? So
that email address, the ad@kwlt.org,
okay, is
the best place to, since we apparently, I'm looking at the form now, have turned off allow response editing.
If like around early December, you have some team in place, we're not going to be looking over these proposals until after the due date. So if in the beginning of December you now have some team members in place, just shoot me an email at ad@kwlt.org and say, here's my update to this application. I have these people, and we'll take that into consideration. I'll also add that having a production team, so not having a production team is not necessarily a deal breaker, because if we get 8 proposals and none of them have stage managers, we still need to pick a director. So, definitely propose with what you have, and awesome. We will do our best to help you find other people after you get accepted if you don't have them already. Definitely still apply.
Okay, great. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Any final questions or comments?
So this is, I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway, because for everyone, maybe I'm wrong. If we wanted to submit a proposal for a standard show or what have you, but we wanted to alter some of the dates, like we wanted to have more time in the theater, or like 2 weeks of build, or we wanted to push auditions even further up so that we have more rehearsal time, or what have you. That's just something that we would ask for and include with the proposal. There are some of the lines are hard, like how many shows and that sort of thing, but many of them can be massaged if asked for early enough, right?
Yeah. So the performance dates themselves are fairly difficult to move because our season is so tight. However, we do own the space, so there is some flexibility in how early you move in, for instance, or if you need more rehearsals in the space itself, we might be able to accommodate. So I think there's a spot on the proposal form for articulating that. If there's not, definitely put it in where it makes sense to. For instance, if your vision is to have a very elaborate set and you think you'll need more than the normal build time, then you probably want to mention that. And all the timings are in the proposal form. We also have a PDF of the proposal form that you can access so that you can see the whole thing before you actually make the proposal. All right, any other questions can be directed to me at ad@kwlt.org. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. I look forward to seeing everybody's proposals. I'm so excited to read some scripts and see what we have on next season. So thank you so much. I'll hang out for a little bit in case anybody has any last-minute personal questions, but otherwise, have a great Saturday.